Well, good morning from Portugal on a glorious day when, well, where else would you want to be really? It's just absolutely superb. It's really warm. Yeah, I got an Uber into town this morning because parking in this little village is not easy, although I can see parking up on the other side there now. I didn't see that yesterday. So probably I could park up there. But it's a beautiful day. Yeah, give me a little bit of a look around here. Cruise ship right out in the distance there. Thinking I'm looking towards Portugal, but I'm not sure. Go over here to the village. So I've walked up this hill to where I am now. Well, that's where we are, by the car. Calvario. Point of the gale. Maybe that's probably what it is. It probably is a gale up here when it's blowing. That's the beach down there. Very nice. Very small beach. A compact little town. Had a breakfast down there this morning for 10 quid. So whatever, 10 euros probably. Real money. Apologies again for the wind. So moving on, actually along the Algarve now to a place called El Porto, which we've been in this area before, and I managed to find this lovely little place up the mountains, sort of off the beaten track. Quite quirky, but very nice. Perfect for two people. There was an over kind of bed for children, but this was ideal for just the two of us for 3 nights. We had this amazing roof terrace, as many of them do, and I spent quite a couple of afternoons anyway, just chilling out on this bed up here. Just it's absolutely brilliant. Stunning views off the top. That's the heating system, by the way, quite common in Portugal. Solar and a big tank. And then you look down through the valley. There was other properties and there was the usual barking dogs, but hey, look at the plant life and everything. It was just stunning. And then over here we had this amazing, I want to call it a plunge pool, not a swimming pool, because you could swim in it, but it was very deep. It wasn't very long, but it was absolutely stunning. And this top deck, as I say, all painted up with dolphins and whales and fish, which was really nice. It really was a bit of an oasis. There's another house there, or 2 houses, one which was also able to be rented, that's separate from us, and then the lady who owned it all, she lived obviously in that one. Parking was a bit of a trek with all your gear, but there wasn't a problem. It was through the garden, over the lemon trees, over the lemons and under the lemon trees. But yeah, I'd highly recommend this place. The only downside was there was dogs, a lot of dogs, sort of in a compound below where we were, and they were kicking off monumentally a lot. It didn't bother me too much, but if you want peace and quiet, maybe this is not the place. But then that is a factor of Portugal. It is just the way things in Portugal are there's always barking dogs. But when you've got a place like this, and by the way, I might have total privacy here, total privacy. It was wonderful. We're back out of the road a minute. We're back on the N2, and we're heading north now, so 2 of us this time, on the N2, heading to our next port of call, really, our next Air BnBs. We stumbled across this little street market. It's a beautiful building. It's a lovely sunny day, nice, beautiful location, lovely church. Look at that, that's gorgeous, isn't it? Wow. So yeah, back on the N2. There's a bit more video today. So it's really quite nice to see these sort of markets. When I was coming up the N2, sorry, going down the N2 from Chaves to Faro, nothing much was on the road. It was kind of quite quiet. But now, obviously, we've hit on a market day as we travel back north up the Route Nationale N2. And this little village itself has just kind of come alive with this incredible street market selling all sorts of stuff, really. Stuff that you probably wouldn't need, although, I mean, as a tourist, you wouldn't need. So yeah, so the N2, it's kind of come alive. I came down it, you know, what we're talking about, 7 days ago, maybe 8 days ago, and there was nothing much on it. But today it's come alive, and this first little town we come into, there's a street market. So we've just stopped and have a little look, buy a few little pieces here. Yeah, it's all part of it, really. It's just lovely to actually this road. We slight deviation this morning because the road actually doesn't. The N2 doesn't continue all the way at the moment because of roadworks until September. So we took a bit of a detour north of Portugal, Faro, and found our way through a beautiful road, actually, beautiful road, which has now put us back on the N2. And we're heading as far back on the N2 probably as Abraxas before we turn off looking for our next port of call, which is an Airbnb where we'll be tonight. So yeah, continue on the N2, and if you're doing the N2, what's wrong with doing it back the other way? It's perfect. Okay, see you later. Here we are in Tomar, and up there is the castle, and down there is Lazy Sarah, who doesn't go anywhere without a motor. So it looks like we're gonna go down and maybe drive up to the castle if that's possible, after I've climbed all these stairs, which are actually quite dangerous. I'm coming down them now. Can you imagine coming down in a suit of armour? No, I can't really imagine that. So, yeah, the village of Tomar is behind, well, not village, town is behind me, like so. And I have to say, it's another glorious day here in Portugal. Really beautiful. Okay, downwards. we're here for a couple of days. In fact, today is our last day before we move back, slowly heading up the country. I'm visiting a place that I have visited, will be my third visit now, in the Douro Valley, because I really want to show Sarah what the Douro is like. And we're there for the weekend, so it'll be busy. But I think my plan is to go into Pinau on the Monday, before we start heading north to Biarritz and the infamous bike show at Wheels and Waves at Biarritz, which I'm really looking forward to. So the trip so far has been absolutely brilliant, as you will have seen some of the videos. Primarily the reason for coming here was for me to take on the N2, the Route National 2, from Chaves in the north of Portugal down to Faro, which is what I did, and was actually lucky enough to complete it before they closed this, the very last, I don't know, what is it, 40 miles or whatever, but it didn't matter because yeah, I'd done it. And when we had a very enjoyable, well, I had a very enjoyable week in the Algarve, and Sarah had 3 days in the most amazing place. Again, I've been really lucky with my Airbnb finds. Everything has been excellent. The camping in the van was not so excellent, and that was purely and simply down to the temperatures here in Portugal, which unfortunately, when I was actually camping in central Portugal in the van, the temperatures actually were 40 degrees. And with no air conditioning and no method of really getting cool, it was pretty uncomfortable. Having said that, the van was great. I had no problems with it whatsoever. It's been excellent, and for one person travelling, if it hadn't have been for 40 degrees of temperature, then it would have actually been perfect. But because of the temperatures, I opted to head down to the Algarve quicker than what I'd anticipated, and took on another Airbnb, which cost me, I think, was about €75 a night. But that came with air conditioning, beautiful garden and rooftop terrace, and a supermarket actually next door, which was very, very handy. And I didn't even have to take the van out because I was able to get into the beach by taking an Uber for €4. So that was perfect. So then we had a few more days in a very beautiful place in the mountains, just into the mountains. The only downside to it, as is always the case in Portugal, barking dogs. I don't know what it is with the Portuguese and their barking dogs. You just get used to it after a while. But sometimes it can be quite infuriating, especially at 6:30 in the morning or halfway through the night. But we're now, as I say, not far from Tomar, in a beautiful house, a small house. The owners live next door. They're Dutch, from Holland obviously. Got the use of the swimming pool, sole use of the swimming pool, parking right here by the door, well equipped house, beautiful. And again, I think it's costing me around about €75 a night, which is just incredibly cheap for what we're getting. So we're on the road tomorrow. We're only literally about 2 hours from where I'm going tomorrow, so we're going to take a trip out to the coast and check out the Atlantic coast before we sweep back inland up the Douro to where we're stopping, as I say, for 3 nights. And it's exactly the same house that I stayed in last week. It wasn't last week, week before. I'm losing track of time here now. So I'll put a bit of video on about everything here, and then the next bit of video will be probably back in the Douro, which is fantastic. And as I say, It's really, the weather's been excellent and temperatures are set to rise again this weekend up towards the mid 30s stroke 40s. So everybody around here actually is a little bit on tenterhooks because since last year's September forest fires, people are pretty itchy about that, and we are actually staying in a forest, albeit fairly open. We are actually in a forest, and we've been told to park the van, which we have done, facing out of the drive, so that if we get a call from the local commune to evacuate, that's giving us the opportunity then to get straight in and disappear. I'm pretty hopeful that won't happen. It's too nice a place to run away from. But yeah, I'll put a bit of video on here now, and you can see what I mean about how lovely this is. So I've literally just reversed the camera from where I'm sitting, and you can now see what I was seeing as I was talking to you. The view across the valley, the swimming pool, which at night, and I'll put a picture up here, looks incredible. And we've got that to ourselves. The owners of this property, who as I say live next door, very much when they have guests keep themselves to themselves and don't invade your privacy. If you want to talk to them you can, if not you don't have to. They don't use the pool while you're here, and as I said, my van is parked literally just there, which is perfect. And I'll take you for a brief walk inside this beautiful place, because I will put a link on here to where we are. So we step inside the door into this open area, which is a nice kitchen area, tastefully decorated, the table, everything much that you would need around this area for light cooking. I mean, you know, they're going to prepare gourmet dinners in here, but that's not what it's intended for. Nice big spacious area room, and as I say, you're then looking back out to the pool. Big television, which we managed to get some English stuff on. The house is pretty well geared up to Dutch, but we managed to get English on there as well. And then we go through, there's an upstairs which we're not using, we don't need to use it. And then you've got this lovely bathroom, which, sorry about shaping me on there. And then shower and wash hand basin and loo and everything. Really, really lovely. And then you go through this way into the lovely bedroom, which has mosquito nets because we're in a forest. But lovely views out of the windows. It really is very, very nice. Yeah. It takes a little bit of doing to research these places, and you have to be a little bit canny on where you choose to go, because they're not always brilliant, but I seem to be quite lucky with where I go normally. I do a lot of research. I don't just look at the photographs, I always go on Google Earth and look exactly where the property is to see what's next door. Because you can obviously sometimes be persuaded that you're staying in a beautiful place and there might be a car's breaker yard next door, or a pick factory, or you just don't know. So yeah, so that's a little look inside the house. As I say, I'll put this video together tonight. So kind of done with the van trip as opposed to camping in it, because it's all Airbnbs all the way back up through to Roscoff now, which is not for quite a while yet. I'm not exactly sure of the day today. Let me think. Sarah came in on the second, third, fourth. I think it's around about the 6th today, I think. And we go back from Roscoff on the 18th. So we've still got quite a bit of travelling to do and quite a few things to see and do. So yeah, so I think the next video will be in the Douro, and probably somewhere around the barbecue pit, because that's a barbecuing place. Okay, catch you later.